Shalom, party people, and welcome to the 12th C. It is December 6th, 2022, day 66 of 75. Hard for me. Approximately 44-ish degrees Fahrenheit at 5:15 a.m. Time of my run. Clocked the run at 4 miles and about a quarter, give or take, 4 1/4, in 48 minutes. So abysmally slow, bouncing up and down the whole time. The hills were not fun. The wind was not fun. It was just part of it and just going super slow. And I think I'm actually more sore from the bouncing up and down than I am from harder runs more recently. Did some walking and stretching just to round everything out. I did get a chance to clock yesterday's run, and I was pleasantly surprised. The distance I went yesterday was exactly to the foot 5 miles. So that made my life kind of nice. So yesterday was 10-minute miles with a stroller, nonetheless. Or no, that was day before. Yesterday with a stroller, 10-minute miles. Whereas today was a lot slower than that. We're looking at like 12, about 12-minute miles. Just kind of, So, for what that's worth, I'm just going to continue with the distance for a little while. I'm actually quite comfortable with the 4+ miles. I don't know why I didn't go to it sooner. Probably try and get up as early as I can tomorrow and see if I can pound out that 5 as quickly as I can. Photo gallon, 198.6 pounds, so down 2 from being up 4 yesterday, so kind of hovering in there. Peanut butter banana oatmeal for breakfast, red beans and rice with an apple, some sugar-free pretzels, and some carrots and hummus, and then red beans, rice, and turkey for dinner tonight. Went through Titus chapter 1 through Hebrews 6 to do my Bible reading today. And then I'm continuing in resistance operating concepts. Actually going to read a couple of quotes for you guys from this one. Something that stood out to me. So we have this concept of quiet quitting that has been going around for more than 3 or 4 months now, but for whatever reason, it's been getting popular. And while I definitely don't endorse quiet quitting, I will say that I have, had days where I have just been like, hey, if I can get through today and just do the bare minimum, then, that's going to be a good day. I can sympathize with that for sure, because, I would argue that as a nation that we just go, and we don't take time to slow down. Conversation I was just having with my wife like a little while ago was that I feel like I've got to get all this stuff done, and if I don't get that stuff done, then I am neglecting those duties. But if I do get that stuff done, then I'm neglecting, my family. And then if I spend family time to go and be with them and do what I would rather be doing, great. But then all this other stuff's got to get done, and then I'm staying up late and waking up early to get that done. And then ultimately that's causing me to fall asleep at odd times and odd afternoon, whatever. And then that's taking away from family time. So it's a catch-22. I would argue that we are too hustle culture, too hurry culture as a nation, and really the Western world in general. It's something that is why I really like celebrating Shabbat with my family, because it is a, intentional, hey, we are going to slow down for 24 hours. So I like that. That being said, I would still like a chance to catch my breath every once in a while in between Shabbats. So, that's that. But the idea of quiet quitting has been in culture for a while, and it's I'm intentionally checking out, especially at work. And it's I'm going to do the bare minimum. I'm going to do my job description and not one thing more. the thing that I noticed at a job that I have worked in the past was an attitude of that's not my job, where you get people who would ask for help, and literally everybody would chime in and is like, that is not my job. You need to figure that out on your own. I cannot help you. I will not help you. And there is something to be said for protecting yourself to where you don't volunteer for more than you're able to deliver on. So that way, when you do actually volunteer to help, people realize, oh, hey, this person can do this and will. I am on the other side. I usually volunteer for too much, and it blows up in my face a lot of times. So, I don't want to say that the quiet quitting stuff that's out there is that's not my job, although it can be, or people just aren't doing anything above and beyond. That would be more of the quiet quitting. It's your job is to push this button with your right hand, like, hi, my name is Joe and I work in a button factory. And that's all he's doing. He's not pushing the other button with his left hand. He's not, taking exactly every second of every break that they're legally mandated that they're going to take. And then they are coming into work and taking, long potty breaks and getting up every 15 minutes to go stretch their legs, not doing anything to, receive praise from the companies. That's more of quiet quitting, whereas that's not my job that I've seen in other places before tends to be people trying to protect themselves, but some people will use that's not my job as an excuse of I'm not going to do anything to stand out. I'm not going to overperform. I'm just going to do the bare minimum and move on. So I see some of that. The concept that resistance operating concept is talking about, at least in this couple of paragraphs, is in the event of a nation being overthrown, where foreign invaders come in and take over, and they seize the means of production and say, hey, this is our company now, and the profit that comes from this will go to benefit our war efforts and our things. Well, they're gonna put people to work. And one of the ways of resistance that this one brings up is actually kind of that quiet quitting thing. Passive resistance encompasses slow performance of work, ignoring certain procedures or rules while claiming to be unaware, misconstruing or not accounting for goods. Miscounting or not accounting for goods, requiring by the enemy or many other activities or lack of activity that can be excused or distinguished as acting out of ignorance, fear, or wrong information. So in this paragraph, that passive resistance is talking about, hey, we're taking over your widget factory as part of our takeover of this nation through invasion, and y'all are going to keep making widgets, and these widgets are going to go for our purposes now, and you guys, we'll still pay you, but probably not what you're worth. Maybe we'll pay you more. I don't know. It's because what's their end goal? Are they trying to sway the population? But one form of resistance that is available is all of a sudden the widget workers don't know how to do their jobs as good as they used to. I would say it's even a step past quiet quitting. They mess up on the inventory counts. They mess up on, their quality control. They mess up on their abilities to, oh, hey, we're late to work every day now by 10 minutes. Not enough to, end things, but enough to stifle production. And I would argue that this concept of quiet quitting, not in the sense of this book, but like what we're seeing in our culture these days, is arguably a resistance to what is going on. Now, are there some unfair things going on in the workplaces? Of course there are. Are there people who aren't getting paid, wages that, whatever? But at the same time, our nation is so divided right now. And we have so many things going on left and right, and it's causing a lot of strife. And then you add on top of things the way that, economies are going on and people feel like they're not getting what they're worth. And so they're saying, hey, you know what, if I'm not getting what I'm worth because I can't keep up with what's going on with inflation, now I'm not going to do what is above and beyond because I'm not getting paid to go above and beyond. I would argue that that quiet quitting attitude is only exasperating the problem, because if we think about it, the company's not as productive now, and so since the company's not as productive, there's not as much profit that's coming, and because there's not as much profit that's coming, the company can't continually reinvest in, expanding, doing, more monetary things, so they can't hire more people. And now because they can't hire more people, and whether that's a direct hiring or an indirect hiring, because if it's indirect, it's like, hey, we're picking up more contracts, which is leading to more jobs one way or the other, or hey, we're expanding. So either way, it is stifling economic growth. And when it's stifling economic growth, that is leading to, more scarcity, higher prices. And so I'm wondering if there has been this injection of quiet quitting where they only had to push it just a little bit, and a large portion of the country has at least accepted it as a thing, to where maybe somebody's like, you know what, I'm not going to do my job. And it's a toxic attitude that is, I think, a form of resistance against what this nation should be. And this nation, I think, should be people who want to do hard things, who want to kick butt, take names, and make the world a better place, starting with our neighborhood. Just a thought for what that is, but I would argue against the quiet quitting, and that just brought it to my mind. Doesn't mean you don't need to take a break. Use your vacation time. Use some of that sick time that's there. Maybe take a mental health day. Reassess. And if that takes a day or a week or a couple of weeks, if you've got the time, burn it. But I would rather burn personal time or sick time or whatever to get back on track than burn work time and then potentially get in trouble for it, and then have burnt bridges because of it. So moving on a little bit in this resistance operating concept, another quote that stood out to me was when specifically nations, but really any resistance force that's going on, is that they need to do exercises and plans and go in, and we are going to have a practice run, a dry session, so we can figure out what's working, what's not working. And it's all training, but it is more scenario-based training, which I'm a firm believer in. We hear all the time about military exercises where we will do joint stuff with another nation, and it's making sure that we know how to cooperate, and hey, we've got potential incoming attacks, and we are going to strategically coordinate and make this work. Because if we don't know how to overcome language barriers, if we don't know how to overcome the fact that, hey, you guys use the metric system, we're on imperial units or SAE or freedom units or whatever you want to call it, if we don't know how to deal with differences in style and custom and culture, and hey, you guys want to respond this way, we want to respond this way, or this unit has a particular way of doing things, and we're going to make sure that everything is cohesive and works. Hey, we have new equipment, and we want to make sure that the new equipment works. Hey, we want to make sure that the people who have this new equipment are adequately trained on this new equipment. So it goes and it goes. But this quote in here: exercises are highly effective means of identifying strengths and weaknesses while promoting coordination between agencies, organizations, allies, and government. Government organized resistance elements must train, rehearse, practice, and develop knowledge of their resistance capabilities prior to a crisis. So, arguably, if we're going to deal with this prepared mindset, of individuals that want to perpetuate normalcy for the people that we love, if we want to focus on those kind of things, which this channel is about conditioning. That right there. Exercises are a highly effective means of identifying strengths and weaknesses. If we are not out using our stuff, if we don't know how to, put a bag on our shoulders that has what we need to operate for a few days and go and use it and actually make sure stuff works, if we don't know how our body needs to move under load in awkward positions, that's why I kind of train the way that I do, is that I want to make sure that, hey, when I'm tired, I can still do things. I may not do them very fast, but that it still works. We want to make sure that if we need to use a tool that can project deadly force, that not only can we use it on a flat range when, the sun is shining, but hey, bump in the middle of the night, you're exhausted. Can you make it function? Can you make it work? Oh, now you have to operate it left-handed. Now you have to operate it while you're in a prone position. Okay. You didn't eat good last night. You got diarrhea and things are going on. Knowing how to use your stuff in all situations is really going to be some of the bigger things. Can you start a fire when it rains? All things that I need continued practice in, and I'm not very good at it, but it's actually going and doing. This concept of on the resistance side of things at the big level super applies at the little level too. If we're not regularly training, we're going to stagnate. We don't rise to our level of expectations, but we fall to our level of training. That is a common quote that has been out there for a very, very long time. Last thing that I wanted to talk about, the just quote that stood out to me out of this one, was auxiliary support, I guess. So, part of why this book here was written and what attracted me to it was the question of, hey, why are these insurgents that are overseas, that are operating on shoestring budgets, arguably funded by the CIA, but that's a different discussion for a different day. But they're, they don't have high dollar technology. They don't have, big planes, big guns, or anything like that. It's like just scavenged stuff from, the amalgamation of about 15 different conflicts over in the sandbox over there. There was the question of how are we losing this war, because these individuals, it's a bunch of goat farmers who have no training, but are somehow beating us at what we're supposed to be able to do best. One of those elements is the auxiliary support that exists out there for a lot of these groups. And the people who are the auxiliary support will probably never pick up a rifle, will probably never do anything of, direct conflict militarily. But the auxiliary, feeding, clothing, housing, they're providing financial support. So you talk about the tip of the spear that's out there. Well, there's a whole lot behind the tip of the spear that actually makes it work. Because if the tip of the spear is not there, it's just a trowel and all you can do is dig with it. But if you have the shaft that is behind the spear, that's what gives it the force and the direction to actually make it work. The logistics that go into making the tip of the spear actually effective are so much larger, about 100 times larger than how small the tip of the spear is. So, quote out of here, the auxiliary refers to that portion of the population that provides active clandestine support to the guerrilla forces or the underground. Somebody's doing their laundry, somebody's cooking, somebody's cleaning, somebody is giving them a safe place to sleep at night, somebody is funding them so that way they can expand their means, somebody is providing distractions. I've seen this in a line of work that I was in the past, where you would be talking to somebody and that somebody had approached you, and when that person was approaching you, they'd talk about anything under the sun, and they were usually kind of charismatic and able to, communicate well. And why is this person talking to you out of the blue? They're a distraction, and they're slowly moving while they're talking to you and seeing if your eyes are following them, because the way they're moving is the exact opposite way of whatever's going on behind them or beside them or in another room or whatever. And it is intentional to distract. And there are auxiliary units that, they are all of a sudden going out and saying, hey, I'm mad because this XYZ, and they may really be mad, but it is intentional that these auxiliary units are able to provide cover, concealment, that are able to hide individuals in plain sight. So on that note of the auxiliary that goes out there, it is a huge aspect of the resilience that is able to support resistance. Now on our end of things, no one fights alone. No one should fight alone. No one lives alone. No one is able to accomplish anything of real merit alone. There is so much support that goes into making us who we are. Families, friends, coworkers, neighbors, people who we don't have a whole lot to do with, but people who are able to provide some level of just basic human decency. You amp that up into a homeland invasion situation, or a hurricane, or just a bad snowstorm, and you want to go at it alone. There's very few people in this world that are truly loners. We all depend on other people to make things work and make things work well for us. So, I can maybe clean up my own messes. I can, maybe feed myself. But if we have a real division of labor where, I put food on the table, somebody else helps clean up, somebody else provides stimulating conversation that makes that meal enjoyable. Somebody else says, hey, this table is wobbly. I'm going to take this outside after the meal's over, and I'm going to do some woodworking on it and make this more suitable for everybody else. Somebody else is able to, look after the little ones that are growing up so fast. Somebody else is able to help produce the food that goes onto that table. Somebody else is able to, just logistically run things so that everybody has got the right coordination to be in the right place at the right time. And life is better with people. Life is better with people who get along and work well. And that auxiliary support is so much bigger than just the, hey, I'm the lone individual and I'm taking care of me. Because yeah, you got things that you need to take care of, but no one works alone. So that being said, I am well past the point of rambling. I am enjoying this book, Resistance Operating Concepts, and I have every intention of continuing the 8 or 9 days that are left in 75 Hard and giving it a good go. So my challenge to everybody who's out there is to go make better relationships with the people that are in your life. Something that I definitely need to do. Need to increase my ability and the people in my life's ability to be that good auxiliary support for each other. Need to train hard, recover hard and well, need to fuel nutrition well, and need to have the motivation and the drive to not check out when things matter. So challenge you to go work on the relationships in your life and train hard. Go do hard things.